So Al Mytty, who we all know, I love this shirt, Peace Trumps War.
How many have ever heard of Martin Luther King Jr.? How many were present for his I Have a Dream speech in 1963? Several folks, congratulations. How many people have met Martin Luther King Jr.? A couple of people, 2 or 3 in the audience. Next slide. How many have heard of John F. Kennedy? How many ever met him in the Oval Office? Okay, next slide. David Hartzell is a lifelong advocate and activist for peace, and he will be here in the Villages next week, Tuesday at La Hacienda Rec Center at 6 p.m., then Thursday at 3 p.m. at the Tri-County Unitarian Universalist Church. He is a very courageous man who met Dr. King, met John F. Kennedy in the Oval Office. He's been to Iran 3 times, so he will bring a special perspective about the situation in Iran. There are not many books in my lifetime that I've read twice, but one of them is his book entitled Waging Peace, Global Adventures of a Lifelong Activist. I've read that book twice, and I encourage you to do so. Next slide. Truth is the first casualty of war. Do we get to assassinate anyone we choose? Was there an imminent threat? Do we consult to others? Was the United Nations ignored? Is the so-called military expert on CNN or NPR or public PRI or Face the Nation or Fox? Are they on the board of a huge military contractor? Next slide. So the truth is the first casualty of war, but the rest are mostly civilians. Next slide.
I have therefore chosen this time and place to discuss a topic on which ignorance too often abounds and the truth too rarely perceived, and that is the most important topic on earth, peace. What kind of a peace do I mean, and what kind of a peace do we seek? Not a Pax Americana, enforced on the world by American weapons of war, not the peace of the grave or the security of the slave. I am talking about genuine peace, the kind of peace that makes life on earth worth living, the kind that enables men and nations to grow and to hope and build a better life for their children. Not merely peace for Americans, but peace for all men and women. Not merely peace in our time, but peace in all time. First, examine our attitude towards peace itself. Too many of us think it is impossible. Too many think it is unreal. But that is a dangerous, defeatist belief. It leads to the conclusion that war is inevitable, that mankind is doomed, that we are gripped by forces we cannot control. We need not accept that view. Our problems are man-made. Therefore, they can be solved by man, and man can be as big as he wants. No problem of human destiny is beyond human beings. Man's reason and spirit have often solved the seemingly unsolvable, and we believe they can do it again. But wherever we are, we must all, in our daily lives, live up to the age-old faith that peace and freedom walk together. And is not peace, in the last analysis, basically a matter of human rights? The right to live out our lives without fear of devastation, the right to breathe air as nature provided it, the right of future generations to a healthy existence. While we proceed to safeguard our national interests, let us also safeguard human interests. And the elimination of war and arms is clearly in the interests of both. No treaty, however much it may be to the advantage of all, however tightly it may be worded, can provide absolute security against the risks of deception and evasion. But it can, if it is sufficiently effective in its enforcement, and it is sufficiently in the interest of its signers, offer far more security and far fewer risks than an unabated, uncontrolled, unpredictable arms race.
Kennedy said mankind must put an end to war, or war will put an end to mankind. He took the occasion of my birthday on June 10th, 1963, to give what some call his greatest speech, and that was the commencement address at American University. This was, by the way, in '63, after the Cuban Missile Crisis, and about 4 months before he was going to be assassinated. Next slide, please.
It is time for all people of conscience to call upon America to come back home. Come home, America. And don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. And I have not lost faith. I'm not in despair. I haven't lost faith because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. We shall overcome because the Bible is right. You shall reap what you sow. With this faith, we will be able to speed up the day when justice will roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. With this faith, we will be able to speed up the day when the lion and the lamb will lie down together, and every man will sit under his own vine and fig tree, and none shall be afraid, because the words of the Lord have spoken it. With this faith, we will be able to speed up the day when all over the world we will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last. With this faith, we'll sing it as we are getting ready to sing it now. Men will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. And nations will not rise up against nations, neither shall they study war anymore. And I don't know about you, I ain't gonna study war no more.
Dr. King said we must learn to live together as brothers, or we will perish as fools. Exactly 1 year to the day after Dr. King gave his speech when he spoke out against the war in Vietnam, he was assassinated. I mentioned earlier that there aren't very many books in my life that I've read twice. One is David Hartso's book. The next slide, please. The other one is this one, or another one is this one. 7 Habits. Look at those. Be proactive, respond positively, and improve the situation. Begin with the end in mind. Envision what you think the future is going to be. Put first things first. Talk about what is important. Think win-win. Value people by understanding that a win for all is better. Try this. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Synergize. Work with your team. Sharpen the saw. Work for sustainability. Makes me wonder, what are we doing as a country? Will the war in Afghanistan ever end? Will our troops be in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria forever? Is this what liberation is? Imagine if these were the habits of President Trump. Next slide, please. And one more reminder about Dave Hartzell. Please come to hear him. You will be inspired by his life and by his message. 2 events. And next slide. A reminder that a poor man's war is terrorism, while a rich man's terrorism is war. And last slide. You missed that one?